Welcome to Business Mentorship, Keeping It Real. My name is Trish Tonai, founder and host for the series, where we feature entrepreneurs and enterprise leaders who participate in shareyourstories.online. Today, I'd like to introduce you to Dianne Ojar. She's a serial entrepreneur, an author, and a TV and radio host. And you know, Dianne was one of the first folks who participated in our guest blog series in 2019. Dianne joins us today from Toronto, and she's going to give us a little bit of an update on how her story has changed since then. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Trish, and thank you everyone for welcoming me. Yes, Trish, it's been a couple of years. I know we're just talking about that, and time has flown tremendously. And thank you for allowing me to share my story, which always seems to be changing.
Isn't that the truth?
Isn't that the truth? Yes, that's right. Just a little bit background. I am from Trinidad and Tobago, and I've been here for quite some time, and it's been a journey coming from the financial industry. And I do have a book, and I apologize, I should have had it in front of me, called Will You Be the Victim or Victim When She Comes Knocking? And it's about Mrs. Fraud and You. And that's that reverse way. And I've done TV, traditional TV, I've done radio. I have my studio, we created our own stream as well. I help people, I mentor people, but I also created this very cool session called The Elephant in the Room, whereby we go back to childhood trauma as much as we can to help people release that elephant. There's many elephants in the room, Trish, as you know. You've had conversation with a few of your other guests about the elephant in the room, but this just came about as something I've been doing for quite some time. I just never put a name to it, but it just seems so fitting. It's very powerful. There are people like 30, 20, 40, 50, 60 years, now in their 70s, and didn't know what was holding them back and working on their business. And we're creating a series to work with entrepreneurs as well. So that's on the holistic side. I'm also an NLP, a master practitioner NLP hypnotherapy, as you know. I'm a certified Dow Hands practitioner, which pretty much says we're like a healer. We work remotely now. Keep in mind, we're not the ones doing it. Okay, we connect with the divine. But I also have a holistic show called Divine Soul Journey, which I co-host with a beautiful soul from Hawaii. Then we're also doing the Game Changers, which you were on as well.
Yes.
And much more. And we'll talk about that as we go along.
Well, you know, what I really love is that when we first met and you shared your story, you told me that you left that secure 9-to-5 job, or in your case, it was 8-to-4. So tell us a little bit about right? How did you get the courage to sort of make that jump? Because I know lots of folks, you know, think, well, I'll start a side hustle and then maybe, you know, eventually I will leave the 9-to-5 and do something else full time. But give us a little bit of insight into your light bulb moment.
Oh my goodness, where do I start with that? I never wanted to be in the bank. Never. It was not a thing. I always wanted to be an accountant ever since I was in high school. And I went to this career fair back in Trinidad when I was like 15, 16. And said 1 in every 15 accountants become an accountant. I was like, okay, I changed my mind. I don't tell people this, but I do have a degree in computer programming. Never used it a day in my life. And this is back in the 80s. So we're talking about COBOL and Fortran and Pascal. Don't even ask me about those things anymore. I went to the school in the States and I was back home. And then I've been here since 1987, and I had my kids, but I ended up in the bank. The one place I didn't want to go because all my friends were going into the bank, I did not. I spent 18 years there.
Wow.
I had another 18 years to go, and I would have been still there if I did wait for retirement. But here's a funny thing. I found out along my journey that I knew I was different. I knew there was something more to this. Remember things that used to happen when I was young. I would have dreams. I would just talk to people. People just come up to me, but I had no idea what any of that meant until now. And it's actually knowing that my direct knowing channel was what was responsible for that. And it just used to come to me, just like I said, okay, go on, do this TV show. And it's like, okay, I just want people to know I am not trained in anything, no broadcasting, no media, anything. It was pretty much dive in. So it does take trial and error. But here's what I did learn. If things are given to you, as you know, you came from corporate, if things are given to you on a silver platter, you don't understand the learnings and teachings and the growing pains behind it.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was writing my book, and I would teach people to write books, I teach people to do podcasts, I teach people how to. Right now, I'm doing a course, a guide about writing a financial business plan. And here's the reason why I'm doing that one too. It's because it's a scary thing, and I
It
know it's a
is.
scary thing.
Yeah.
And it's everything I do is like my therapy, and that's why I had to do it the hard way. And this is why I'm saying to you, people need to know the growing pains. So when I was writing my book and looking for an ISBN number, how do I find an ISBN number? It took me about a month. People didn't tell me. Some people said you had to pay for it. So eventually I was at one of my publishers, or I self-published group, and I said, he said to me it was free. I was like, what? This is the thing, a whole month. So now I have like a checklist when I speak to people and say, you need to do this, 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 this,
Right.
this. I did this the hard way. I did this the long way. But here's the funny thing. I do everything for fun, which may not always be the best approach. Here's the thing, because you know what? You become a charity to people.
Yes.
Give away so much, as you know, then people don't see it. And I'm not here to disrespect anyone, but to appreciate. And this is what we want to tell people. You have to know what your worth is.
Right.
Because we're all giving, and you have to know what you're worth. So we're working on that series. I didn't want to do courses. I didn't want to teach. I'm not a traditional teaching type, but I can stand up. I don't script things. I can stand up, and I have to discipline myself a little bit. So that's why the course is a little bit different. But this is what I do. And it just comes natural. I don't know. I'm not here to explain it to people, but people just open up and people want it. So I would get this little thing in my head say, just go and do a recording. I was like, okay, I'm not kidding you. And I was like, just go and sit down and do a recording, or just do something, or you should write this. And that's what I do. I don't question it.
Well,
I
I
really
know
don't question.
that's a really wonderful skill because, I know that you mentor folks, and I know that you try to pass along and pay forward some of the experience that you've learned through trial and error, as you've already mentioned. But if someone was going to approach you to be their mentor, what are some of the things because it's a symbiotic relationship, right? I mean, they have to put in the work and you provide them with the experience. But what are some of the things that you would give, or advice that you would give to someone if they were going to come to you to be a mentor and do a podcast? Because we all know that lots of folks are in the process of developing their own podcast so that they can share their voice.
Here is the one thing I'm going to break that up in two parts.
Good.
Because they may overlap as well. The elephant in the room I've discovered, because in my community, in my holistic community, which is a big group of healers, and I'm not jokingly talking about healers, I'm talking about, it's very powerful. I can't begin to express that. However, one of the stipulations or pre-requirements when we do any session or any course, or even when we call it the 5 W's, which is like an intro session we have, they have to go through, well, I recommend, they require, they have to go through the elephant in the room. And the reason for that being is, if you're going to come, and we've done a 12-hour over a 3-week period. Well, first of all, the elephant was private, and then we do this 3 weeks, and I have 2 facilitators that's come on board with me, and they have gone through the program as well. Then we do the Making of a Millionaire Mind as well. And the reason I do this is we have to reprogram your mind, your thoughts, your beliefs. Now, we're not here to convince you, but if you're going to come into a program, it's very intense in the sense that it's interactive, it's intense. And the first day, there's so much happen. You have a week, you go back, you come back. And the last day, you have to present it's really tense. If you're going to come in with that attitude, then it's not going to work. And of course, if you have a group of people, and the groups are not very big, that's why I have to go to online course, because it will get overwhelming at one point.
Sure. Yeah.
That is, if you're going to have someone who is going to, we call it storming. Storming is when there's like, one apple that stands out from the bunch. It's not going to work. The dynamics is not going to work. So everybody had to start from scratch. So I had a girl who was very intrigued, wanted to do this workshop. And this was the complimentary one, by the way, about the 5 W's. And she said, and we did the workbook. I sent it to them. I had the guide. And she said, I've done this before about a year ago. It's just probably duplicated. And I said, okay, no problem. What they don't realize is if you're going to do something, you got to start from scratch, from the ABCs, regardless of if you've done it before, because it's going to be a different angle, a different perspective on everything. Sure. And this is why I recommend the elephant in the room. And in our holistic world, our spiritual group, here's the funny part of it. These guys are very intuitive, extremely high level intuitive. I cannot begin to explain that. And I thought sometimes, like, how is this going to work? But it just flows naturally. And it's very simple questions. And it may take 20 minutes. Some people have had their stomach has gone down 24 hours, 4 inches, all these phenomenal results. But it's not me doing it. They're the ones have to be willing to do it. And I was surprised. And some people I didn't believe was going to, I don't know what the reaction was going to be, because there's no expectation. Some of them don't even know what I'm going to do. And I don't hypnotize them. I don't do any of those things. It's just, it's also the energy and connection at the level. So sure. That's one of the recommend with mentorship. You have to be willing and start from scratch. And yet, one of the things that that what I do, the word investment in yourself, people are very scared of it. Mm-hmm. And they're not willing to do so. So if you're not willing to invest in yourself, I'm sorry. I've done the parts where I've given so much like you have, and what's in return, it's you have to play 100%. If you don't play 100%, it's not going to work. It's not me. The other side with the podcast and so forth, that's a little bit different. Again, going through the growing pains, what not to do. And it's a work in progress. Just like I'm always learning and something new every day about it. Yeah. It's the same thing. And so, we just changed up the equipment. I went through a lot of equipment here that I'm like, okay, what am I supposed to do with the rest of the equipment? Right. Tried equipment. And now I'm saying, a friend of mine in Pakistan who's in the TV world there, he said, you should get this. I was talking to him last week, and he's been hearing me for months complaining about the mics. And he said, you should get this particular mic. And I'm like, why didn't you tell me this before? The dynamic, and it just came out his mouth. So here's the thing, when you have to go through that growing pains, and when the time is right, all the resources and tools will be given to you.
That is so true. Dianne, that's absolutely the truth. And one of the things that we do in our guest blog is we asked folks, this is a wonderful segue into your 3 words of advice. And your 3 words of advice are empower, entertain, and enlighten. And I think that what you've given us today is really the foundational elements to saying, I love your term, the elephant in the room, because, we all have that thing that we don't really want to deal with, or the thing that the last hurdle before we can actually get to success. So in terms of your 3 words, which of those 3, empower, entertain, or enlighten, would you feel stands out for you now, being that your story you originally shared a few years ago?
Well, first of all, I would like to invite you for a complimentary elephant in the room.
Oh, thank you.
You know what? You don't know where it's going to go. Mm-hmm. And you never know. There may be little things, so maybe not. We don't know, but we can explore it. So I invite you for that.
Well, thank you.
Oh my gosh, one of them. There is no one without the other, to tell you the truth. Nothing stands alone. So let's put it, I love to empower people. It's what we do.
Right.
As human beings, if your success is my success, it's just the way it is. So we empower people only because it helps us feel that we're doing something. It makes us feel good, not in an egotistical way, in a way that we know we're making a difference. Hence, we call the other show I'm doing, the business show, which I'm relaunching again on a different platform, is the Game Changers. And the
Right.
Game Changers, again, is about, changes, the game changers in the world, whether it be social. I don't do political. Just say that from now.
Exactly.
Economical and spiritual and so forth. And then we have the enlightenment. People are all looking for something. They're on a journey, hence the divine soul journey. We're all looking for some type of a light, a way.
Yeah.
And of course, we have to have fun, Trish. We have to have fun and we have to make it light. If you're not doing that, then just get out of it,
Right.
Just get out. And that's why, come back to the question of the bank, I just knew I didn't belong. I knew there was something else I had to do. So I literally got up one day and walked away. And the next morning, I felt something went through my body, which I didn't know about energy at the time. And it was me saying I didn't belong there anymore. But that road of 10 years was not easy.
For sure.
That's a whole nother story for another time.
Well, I want to thank you very much, Dianne. You've given us some really great little tidbits, and I know that you have some wonderful shows on your platform, and I'm sure what we'll do is we'll connect your story to our live discussion so that people can connect with you directly. So I want to thank you very much for sharing some of your words of wisdom with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you. Thank you.
To our viewing and listening audience, I hope you enjoyed this edition of Business Mentorship, Keeping It Real, where we introduced you to the person behind the logo. And I invite you to share your story by visiting the website, shareyourstories.online. Thank you so much.